If you have questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please submit them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The Fiscal, Financial, Fake. Hi, I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Another possible title for today's podcast could be The Government Giveth and the Government Taketh Away. In this case, they gave families an increased child tax credit, but that caused inflation that wiped out the spending power of the money that the families received. A Wall Street Journal article from December is about whether a larger child allowance reduces child poverty. The article reads, "The larger allowance's effect on poverty has been overstated because the benefit as structured crushes the incentive to work. Traditionally, someone needed $2,500 in income, claimed the child credit, which became more generous as a person earned more to encourage advancement. This is an extremely modest amount of income, and Democrats torpedoed this threshold for the sole purpose of sending large checks to people who don't work." I'll deal with the people who don't work section of that quote in a little bit. First, the idea of how the poor should be cared for. Every reasonable person born since William Wilberforce agrees that the poor should be cared for. The only question is, how? Christian economists generally like to quote scripture about taking care of widows and orphans from James 1:27, which clearly states the role belongs to the church. Non-Christian economists favor government care of the poor. All money comes from capitalist ventures. I get a little frustrated with folks who say, well, the church used to be able to do it, but now it's gotten too expensive for the church. See, that's usually intoned about healthcare. But the economics answer is something like this: the money is somewhere. Which reminds me of the fundraising technique where the pastor says, there's plenty of money in this church, it's just in the wrong pockets. Actually, that's a pretty good economic statement. The person who says that the church can't afford to pay for health care is simply putting more trust in the government's ability to forcefully extract the money from citizens than trust in the church to raise the money via free will donations. See, that's how economists think. If 17% of the U.S. economy is going to be spent on health care, it can go through a couple of different pockets, either church or government in our analysis here. But the initial source is always the production of value by people in a free market capitalist economy. In another recent podcast, number 105, titled "The Free Market Feeds the Poor," I made the point that only capitalist exchanges create profit that can be expunged by the government. Today, I'm simply extending that point forward in the transaction exchange to say that you can pay for health care via the church or the government, but it still comes out of the same pocket. Now, the Wall Street Journal article I'm quoting today goes on to point out that any reduction in poverty caused by increasing child care credits is consumed by the current inflation that reduces the buying power of the poor. This is the same game we've seen many times before. The government increases giving to the poor, but that causes inflation, which harms the poor. That's only the fiscal part of the equation. Milton Friedman said that inflation is always a monetary problem, but currently, at 6.8%, the highest inflation in 40 years has been caused by both fiscal and monetary policy. The government's fiscal policy of giving away money in an attempt to recover from the COVID pandemic has sent more dollars chasing fewer goods, while the Fed's monetary policy of increasing the money supply while keeping interest rates at zero for months on end has also sent more dollars chasing fewer goods. I did a more complete analysis of inflation in my podcast 101 titled Inflating Inflation. We are called to help, not to give. The book titled When Helping Hurts by Corbett and Fickert explains that often Christian charity harms those it intends to help. My summary statement is we are called to help, maybe not necessarily to give. Or to put a finer point on it, there are a variety of things that we might give in addition to money. The video series Poverty Cure and Poverty Inc. by the Acton Institute states that it's easy to have a heart for the poor, but having a head for the poor, Now that takes more thought. The videos provide many good examples of how helping hurts that I won't repeat today. For those who simply state, I am commanded to give without question, I admire your heart, but I question your head. Giving has hurt many people. As Christian economists, we need to figure out how to fashion our giving into helping, not hurting. Work is good. Now I'll return to that earlier statement about giving to people who don't work. In a recent article, a woman was quoted as saying, quote, my mother was on welfare, I am on welfare, I pray to God that my children will be on welfare, end quote. Why didn't she pray that God would provide for her as the scripture dictates in James 1:27? That is, by the church. The government has no scriptural role to take care of those in poverty. Strange that she knows she should pray to God, but she's praying for the opposite of what we believe God states how it should be provided. At the very least, the person on welfare violates one of the 10 Commandments of Economics that Sergei Sadamatov and I found in our recent book, Biblical Economic Policy. That rule is, work is good. She believes that work is not good, and drawing welfare is good, actually. Helping others is good for those who provide the help through the church, but taking help without working is not good for the person who accepts the welfare payments. Back to the Wall Street Journal article I've been quoting today. The Biden crowd claims to be worried about child poverty, but gives little thought to the incentive implications. Their real political goal is hooking more families on income transfers from government, no matter the consequences. Incentives matter. There's a direct correlation between class attendance and grades in my classes at Dallas Baptist University. So a few times each semester, I'll lock the door at 8 a.m. and award the students who showed up on time with a minor assignment that allows them to earn a few bonus points. I've often asked my students, should I reward attendance or punish it? Seems like a rather simple question. But the Biden crowd referred to in this Wall Street Journal article believes we should punish work and reward sloth. That's not a good Christian economics policy. One more citation while I'm at it. Hey, that's why Ludwig von Mises' book was titled Human Action, because successful economics is about putting the incentives in the right place. Heart and head. Ginger and I visited the College of the Ozarks with our church group recently and had a wonderful brunch at their restaurant. The college is called the College of Hard Work because all students have jobs and no student leaves with college debt. We bought a collection of fruit jams, and emblazoned on the box is the phrase, student made with head, hearts, and hands. Work is good, and every College of the Ozarks student lives out that mantra. I tend to like the framework mental, spiritual, physical, and that's what they're saying by using the terms head, hearts, and hands. You see, at the College of the Ozarks, they have the ability to affect the whole individual, not just one part. Churches have many of the same advantages as the College of the Ozarks. While government is pretty much limited to providing only financial help, the church can treat the entire person, head, heart, and hands, or, if you like my phrase, mental, spiritual, and physical. Because the church knows the person intimately, the church is better able to diagnose all of those types of ailments and provide the help that is needed. Writing in his book, A Human Economy in 1958, William Ropke states, "It is no use seeking salvation in institutions, programs, and projects. We can save ourselves only if man finds the way back to himself into the firm shore of his own nature, assured value judgments, and binding faith." Ropke is correct. Government does not offer salvation. Did government take over the job of Christians helping the poor, or did we as Christians lose our way? I'm not an expert on that subject, so I'll refer again to Corbett and Fickert in their very good book titled When Helping Hurts. They blame the church when they write, "While the rise of government programs may have exacerbated the church's retreat, they were not the primary cause. Theology matters, and the church needs to rediscover a Christ-centered, fully orbed perspective of the kingdom." The answer? Productivity. The Wall Street Journal article again. Democrats want everyone to forget that some of the biggest recent reductions in child poverty occurred amid the healthy growth of the Trump years before the pandemic. The Pew Research Center in November 2020 reported that the share of American children in poverty reached a record low in the months before the pandemic. Child poverty dropped to 14% of children under the age of 18 in the year 2019, down from 22% in 2010, not long after the Great Recession. In 9 years, child poverty fell by nearly 1/3 among blacks and 40% among Hispanics. The eternal truth is that faster economic growth that creates jobs and raises income is by far the best anti-poverty program, end quote from the Wall Street Journal. Policies that promote production is the title of my podcast number 27. That's all that separates rich from poor nations. It's also all that separates households. Those who produce get rich. Those who do not get poor. If you're an American, you can thank God that you have the freedom to make choices that make you rich or make you poor. In his book, Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, Thomas Sowell writes that virtually everyone in poverty made one of 3 choices. They dropped out of high school, got pregnant before marriage, never held a job for 18 consecutive months. That's it. Choices. We have to wonder, if Jesus' brother James was writing about rules today about how to care for widows and orphans, would he include those 3 criteria? I'll close with another reference from Corbett and Fickert. While God made the world perfect, he left it incomplete. This means that while the world was created to be without defect, God called humans to interact with creation, to make possibilities into realities, and to be able to sustain ourselves via the fruits of our stewardship. The church is called to care for the poor. The government is not called to care for the poor, who continually make fiscal, financial fakes. I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Fear God, tell the truth, earn a profit. See you next time. For more information, please visit us online at davearnott.com. If you have questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please submit them online or in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.